Well, start off, I was born in 62. November 18th, 1962. There was no power, there was no running water, there was no fridge, nothing. Other than the water, the air, the mountains. What we lived on was more or less deer meat, grouse, squirrel, chipmunk, porcupine, beaver, mountain goat, and when I was born, my father died in a fire above my house in 62, so I was still in my mother's stomach when my father died. So we were considered as the most poorest family on West Side. So my mother had to provide and fish for us while she was carrying me. And there's three brothers and three sisters. And I never got to see my grandmother or my grandfather. I never got to see my father. And I never got to see or learn what a light was, a light bulb, what a shower was, what a tub was, or even what a church was. Everything was out here the way it is. This is our home, right here as we sit on the ground and we breathe the air and we walk the mountains. That is our playgrounds. And the water was our bath every morning through winter. It was a hard life. It was easy but hard because of the civilization was coming into our side. The river was our swimming pool. Everything that was out here was provided. We didn't own it, it owned us. It looked after us. It gave us life. It also took it. Right. When I started learning how to speak in Tlakamixin, my language, it was nothing. It was just as easy as speaking English. I speak better in Tlakamixin than I speak English. My food is different. Even to this, even when I became what I put it this way without any shame, is that what the white man told me is I was the savage. I was the dirty one. I was the one, when they cut my hair, they cut it like how you see the army men have their hair crew cut. Going to a white man's world was really hard, very hard, because it was wrong to speak our language when we'd say good night to another next to this two-bed called the bunk, and this red light that called, the exit. Didn't know what that was. I found that very, very, I guess the word is intriguing. Like I looked at it and I often wondered why the moon was in the building, because the moon is always outside. I thought that was the moon. And so I spoke in Tlakamixin to the next one, Hetla and there. Yeah. I said, is that good? And he said, no, it's an exit. I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know any English at all. And their food was totally different. It was cod. I didn't know what cod was. I knew it was a fish, but it wasn't our fish. Our fish is salmon.
Salmon, yeah.
Sockeye, steelhead, spring salmon. And so we ate rice, I know that. We knew rice. Macaroni and spaghetti, because those are the things that we bought in bulk when we were, because it lasted a long time. But we grew our own gardens, but the gardens were small because seeds was hard to get then. It was, not as easy it is on the other side. There was no such thing as welfare. There was no family allowance. There was nothing. We had to do what we had to do to survive. It was, it is still hard today. But you know, when we went to that school, when I went to that school in 1968, and I didn't know what a TV was. I asked in our language, and I said, what is that? And I asked him, how come the people are so small and they talk funny? How come they don't talk to me and yet I talk to them? Why they don't answer me? And I went to go touch them and I couldn't touch it. I just felt funny things go through my hand from the TV. And I got a strapping for it. I got strapped with a cowhide. And I was only, 6, 7 years old, speaking our language, and I got strapped for speaking my language. Because they said they wanted to take the savage out of us. They didn't want us speaking our language. They wanted us to learn religion. They wanted us to learn the church. And yet, it's all out here. This is our culture. This is what we learned. This is how we lived. So we never killed unless we had to kill. We never overkilled. We always went seasonal. We followed. We went up Botany. We went up 18. We went over the mountains to follow the berries, follow the mushrooms, follow whatever we knew then. But then when the residential came, 1865, and it was started down in the island and come up this way. A lot of us died in there. There was a lot of young women that had children from preachers. And when we were taken from our land, from our parents, when I was taken from our parents in 1968, we were forcefully pulled from our parents. Just need a second. The cop went up to my mother, and she argued and hollered and screamed and said, "You're not taking my children, my last child, into that world." And they told her, "If you don't allow us to take your son, then you will become a criminal. You'll have a record for the rest of your life." She fought and argued right to the gate. And they put me in this vehicle. I didn't know what it was. I just knew didn't even know the name of it. And this is where I learned the word hate, even though I didn't even know the word hate. I had a real hard heart, black heart. My mind was filled with fire, and I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't understand any of what was going on. I just knew I was being taken away from my mother. And it was hard. And when they took my hair and they cut, and I watched it fall, I cried for months. I still want to cry, even just saying it, because it still hurts. I've learned English, and I learned what the word hate meant, because a lot of them spoke hate. Because go to church on Sunday, go to church on Monday, go to church on Wednesday, go to church on Friday. Every day was a praying day, and we didn't understand their way of praying, because ours was standing up and going out in the woods and praying. And when we became a man become a man and a woman, it was a whole different thing compared to what it is in the world today. Whereas when I was 7 years old, I was brought out in the woods by my great-grandfather. And he took me over a mountain. There was a long walk and ride on a horse, very long. He sat me out in the woods. He says, "Tuktaman, Atlan, Kamakstein." He told me, "Don't speak to anybody." And he says, "Uzman is the devil." He says, "He can fool you. Look like somebody that died, somebody that you love." He put a circle around me. And he left. He says, "I'm going to leave you here 3 days and 3 nights by yourself. You're not to move out of that circle. You're not to go over there and eat a piece of grass. You're not allowed to have any water." It was our way of fasting, our way of becoming in tune with the ground and tuned with the animals that come to us. So that's how we got our names. My great-great-grandmother met Geronimo. And so he had given that name to her to carry for whoever is going to be there. It took 3 generations for me to get my name. And that's how I got my name, because I was the second boy of our family. My oldest one his name is Chief. We call him Kukpi. And that's the same thing we call God, Kukpi. And so he was the chief of our family when he got older. And I'm the warrior, the one that looked after the family. I say what goes on in our family. The reason why a lot of our people, I've gone around and I talked to a lot of people and asked a lot of people, your age, your guys' age, my age. And I asked, why do you hate God? Why do you hate Jesus? Why do you hate the Lord? And a lot of them would say, as myself, I hated them too until it took 20 years ago to come to it. Why I made a mistake. I blamed God for everything that went wrong in my life that had happened to me. Because everything was in the name of God. The sexual abuse was done by a preacher, done by supervisors, done by our own people, and they called them dorms. And so a lot of us hated God because it was always used in the name of God. When we spoke our language, they strapped our hands. It wasn't a spanking, it was a strap. It was a cowhide strap, that long, that wide. And you all pretty well know how thick a cowhide is. Irregardless of how old you are, whether you be 6, 7 years old, you got 10 strap-ins on each hand. And then when they finish strapping you, you go to the dorm, then you get a slipper smacked on your body. And we became more angry towards the color white. We became prejudiced. We never knew what the word prejudice was until it was brought up. I wanted to know, because I already come to the realization, reality or whatever, that it wasn't the Creator that done this to me. It wasn't the Creator that done it to our people. It was just a few people that ran that residential school that done this to us. It was the RCMP that took us away. That's why a lot of our people don't like RCMPs. That's why a lot of our people don't like schools. We had cultural shock in our own town. The building was 1, 2, 3, 4 stories, and it housed 380 students. We were all crammed in a bunk, they called it, a bed above a bed. And it was, sexual abuse was happening then with those people, with other students. It was hard to sleep, scared to sleep, and we became, a lot of us, as myself, became very hard, very angry. I learned the word resentment. Not too long ago I learned it. And, there's a lot of words that I'm starting to learn because I did journals from 1980. Just, to see where I walk in my life, to see who I meet in my life. I've become an alcoholic. I smoked weed, did a little bit of cocaine, didn't do all this new stuff today, it's just crazy. I'm just recently starting to pull myself together. And I've lost a lot of people from residential and from family. We were once big on this side. Our families were big. We're looking at probably, at the time, there was 3,000 of us on this side. And now there's just under 200. A lot of that, what do you call that disease that had come in with the blankets? What is that?
Smallpox.
Smallpox. We had these underground, we call them she'ishkins, they're pit houses. And at that time in early 1800s, our people had died very fast. And so what our people did on this side was, because they were dropping like flies, that they put them inside the she'ishkins, the pit houses. And they set it ablaze. They burnt it. And so because they were built like that, with wood. And once those beams burnt, it was instant grave. There's one at Stein, on that side of Stein where that little brick building is. There's another one. There's a few of them over there that are... We didn't have names like we have today. We had, there was no last names. Because we had animal names. We had Spatch, Spazuzu, and Hello. Never had a name Owl.
No.
Never had a name Owl. And see, our ways of beliefs was, we had high respect for everything. Even our own enemy, we had respect for them. We loved them even though they hated us. We didn't know the word hate. We didn't even know how, there was no such thing as goodbye. Everything was, come and eat. You sleep here tonight and then you go. We don't allow people to walk by. We always feed them. And that was our way of living. And when it came to being civilized, it's just crazy. I found it crazy, because I never knew what civilization was until 1968, TV, showers, tubs, sinks, and seeing all these people in one spot, Yeah, and a lot of them died in there, a lot. A lot were hidden graves, a lot of hidden babies that were aborted in the school, and when they did abortions there, the woman died too. The girls died too. They were your ages, and they were impregnated. The night watchman was the worst. We hated them. We were scared of them, because it wasn't just the girls they went after us too. And we hated church because the preacher that was there, his name, wow, he was when he preached, it was just so scary. It was just unreal how he preached. It was he would he would he would go beat red, like the Sha'uzman, the devil, and he would bang on that funny little thing he got. He puts his Bible on, and he'd bang on there. And the junior boys would be sitting in front. Junior girls would be sitting in the front, the young ones, the younger ones. And we were scared of this man so much, you know. Some of us, you know, pooed and peed in our pants because we were that scared of him. It was really bad, you know. And it was. This is why a lot of us have issues with churches. Even today, our aunts and uncles and our mothers and fathers and people my age and younger even the kids today that are children are taught to hate, taught to disrespect and not trust and believe in God, because this is what they did to us. This is what God allowed to happen to us. And yet, you know, I was telling you about what is the Creator is in the Bible. So I helped people to see that, even though I didn't even know the Bible that good myself, but I knew a little bit because my mother read it.
Yes.
And so I didn't like that, you know, I fought it. You know, I fought it. But I was probably about 28, 25 when I come to, say, realization that it wasn't all white people in the world. It wasn't God that hurt me.
No.
I said,
It was that devil.
it was the devil. We called the Sha'uzman. The false prophets. We need to teach our young ones, you know, respect and honor and love for themselves, because there is none. It's all gone. There's no culture anymore. We need to learn to respect ourselves and learn to love ourselves. That's what I tell the young ones. But when there's alcohol in it and there's drugs and whatever that may change and alter the minds and hearts and souls, God is slowly coming back into our people. But it's something that people as myself, I had a hard time praying. I hated praying. Like I told my mom, I said, "Stop praying! You're ruining my parties, man." You know, I'd say stuff like that. You know, I was pretty cheeky when I was young. But you know, once I started accepting God and everything, you know, and the Creator, and learning to respect and honor myself, but it's, you know, I get lost. I got lost. I got lost even more so when I lost my wife last year. I allowed the bottle to be my friend for 1 year.
Poor friend.
And I realized he wasn't good. It got me in trouble. Deep trouble. I wasn't a good man when I was in my 20s. I was a really bad person. You get me mad, I'd burn your car. You get me mad, I'd burn your house. You get me mad, I'll go after somebody that you love. That's how wicked I was. And that's how a lot of us are, but it's people like Becky, joining up with our people, and people allowing her to join with her. And other people that came into our lives that believe in God, Jesus, the Creator. But see, we never knew what carrots or potatoes or peas or any of that stuff was. We had our own potatoes. We called it tatoon. It's a tiny little potato. It can give you life, but it can also kill you if you pick it at the wrong time. Yeah. And There's a lot of food that we do eat, stinging needles and all that stuff. It's you gotta know how to pick that stuff. And it's dandelions, and I know how to survive without having money or when I walk around in the woods. I can stay in the woods. I can stay in the woods for weeks without having anything. And today's food, I can eat out there. I know what to eat out there. And there's a lot of food out there. I have hated God for what a human has done to me. What a white human has done to me. And done to my aunts and my uncles. And when I went to school in '68, there was no nuns, but there was nuns back then, back before here. And it was all as the residential. We had two of them here, and the first one was run by nuns, and they belonged to one individual owned a school from England. He bought us. We were bought natives. We were owned by one individual. And St. George's and the word Lytton come from England. And we were owned. You know what a reserve means? Any of you guys know what a reserve means? No? It's a jail. It was a jail to control the natives. We could not leave the reserve. We had to get permission from the government to leave, to go visit if somebody died down in Spuzzum, if somebody died in Chilliwack. That our families were big because we traded. Our young ones fell in love with somebody down in Chilliwack. The young one fell in love with somebody up in Kamloops, but they weren't called those then. They were called different names. St. Thompson's, like Amixchin is where the two rivers meet. Religion, when you talk to different people, you're going to get different stories. You're going to get different ideas and thinkings and the way they feel about it. But there's still a lot of hate for it. There's still a lot of resentment. A lot of them don't want it, but a lot of us want it so that we can feel whole, we can feel respect, honor, love, care, so that our children will have it too.